customize a vinyl weeding tool with our Skim Coat UV resin. So I have nitrile gloves on and nitrile finger cots. This vinyl weeding tool is a blank and it is stainless steel, so little to no prep is needed. If you want to roughen up with a little piece of sandpaper, feel free to do that. Just make sure it's clean before you apply your resin. Go ahead and apply one thin line of the Skim Coat. And using your finger cot, you're going to spread it evenly all around the blank and make sure that it's nice and level. It'll continue to level once you rotate it back and forth, but just make sure that you get that resin on there everywhere. This coat's really important because this is the coat that's going to pull in that glitter for you. I like to take a silicone brush and run it along the bottom just to get rid of any excess resin that I may have gotten down there, and that way it doesn't cure to it. But if it does happen to cure there, no worries, you can snip it off with some resin clippers. It's easy fix. Now we're going to go in with our Demogorgon Chameleon glitter, and we're just going to coat it on top really, really well. You can pick any of the glitters from the collection that you received. I like this one, so this is the one that I chose. It's a color shifting glitter. And just coat it the best that you can. If you notice that you dump out your whole jar, just make sure you're doing it on a file folder or a piece of paper so that you can just put it right back in the jar when you're done. I usually like to roll either my pencils, my weeding tool, everything in the glitter when I'm done, just so that I can make sure there's a nice thick coat of glitter on there. Now I'm attaching one of my crafting clamps just to make it a little bit more hands-free for me. And we're going to go ahead and cure this for about 2 minutes. Once it's fully cured, go ahead and use your glitter dusting brush if you have one and just kind of dust away any excess glitter. If you have glitter that's hanging out, that's loose, it's going to mix in with your next coat of resin and make it a little bit more bumpy and a little bit harder to buff down. Put your finger cot on, and we are going to go ahead and put on our next coat of resin. This is going to take a little bit more because this coat is going to be what seals down the glitter. So the glitter is going to absorb a little bit more of this, so I expect you to use probably 2 lines of resin during this coat. Just spread it evenly, rotating the tool, and once you feel like it's spread evenly throughout, I expect it to be bumpy during this stage, which is totally normal. Just make sure the most important part is that you're getting resin everywhere so that you can seal that glitter down, and when we sand and buff it out, it's not going to be removing the glitter. I'm going in with my second line of resin, and we're going to spread this out and make sure it's nice and level, make sure it's even everywhere, and then take that silicone brush, remove any excess resin from the bottom of your weeding tool, and then we're going to cure it for the same amount of time, about 2 minutes, and just make sure you're rotating it throughout the duration of the cure. So fresh out of the lamp, it's fully cured. However, you notice a lot of bumps, and this is totally normal for this coat. Now is the most important part in order to achieve that glass-like finish. We are going to wet sand this. So I'm going to spray some water on 180 grit sandpaper, and I'm just going to buff this down. I'm just going to sand it down until I remove all of the shine from it all together, so that I want it to be completely dull before I add that final coat of resin to give it that shine. Now we're going to go in with our final coat, but one of the most important things at this stage is to make sure that your weeding tool is completely dust-free and clean. So use a microfiber cloth to make sure that you get everything before you start adding this resin. Go ahead and do 1 line of resin on here and start spreading it like you have in the past. Nice and slow, nice and easy until it is evenly spread throughout. If you need a little bit more, go ahead, but you only want it to be a very, very thin coat, a paper thin coat. When you're applying this resin, the way to make it so that you don't have any bumps at all is to make sure you're looking at it in the light, because you'll be able to see if there's a bump. And if there is a bump, if you have sanded it down all the way and you're still seeing a bump, more times than not, it's just either a piece of glitter that has gotten in there or it is residual dust from you buffing it out. So just make sure that you're going in one solid direction and that you are swiping any and all bumps up, because they are removable. And once you're looking at it in the light and you see that it is completely smooth from start to finish, then it's ready for the cure. Now go ahead and cure it for about 2 minutes, making sure that you're rotating it at least once. If you notice that it's still not cured after those 2 minutes, go ahead and give it another 2 minutes. Depending on the temperature of the room that you're working in and the humidity level, those can both be factors that can contribute to the curability of your resin. So just make sure that you are curing it long enough. And remember, when it comes out, it's not going to be rock solid right away. All UV resin has to continue degassing outside of the lamp, and it takes about 6 to 12 hours in order for you to reach that rock solid state with UV resin. But you will be left with a gorgeous vinyl weeding tool that is fully functional and super fun, and you made it yourself.